If I woke up tomorrow 20 pounds heavier and I wanted to lose that, this is what I would do to achieve it. So, number one, I would do a bit of reflection on what I think has caused that weight gain. Is it potentially something hormonally going on? Is it a change in life circumstance? Is it a change in my behaviors around food or alcohol or exercise or movement in general? And try and work backwards because if it's a sudden gain, then they usually it's a big change that's happened or something that's happened to cause that. And if it's a slow, steady gain, then you know that it's going to probably be a slow, steady loss. And that's quite important to go into it knowing. So do a bit of a realistic audit. What is it? Is it your emotional eating or reaching for convenience or your plates are just portions are too big? And then you can work backwards. So this is what I would do. I would not go and do 75 hard or a juice cleanse or a detox or sign up for a insane 6 week, 8 week challenge blast thing. I would not go out and buy loads of new gym equipment or loads of supplements or loads of things that I think is suddenly going to transform that 20 pounds off me. And I would focus on these five basics. Number one being protein. And the reason I'm putting that first is because I think most of us go into any sort of deficit thinking about the restriction side. We think, I can't have this, and I can't have this, and I can't have this. And that already puts so much restriction into our mindset. Whereas if you focus on what you can have, as in adding in more protein, that can feel so much better. So as a general rule of thumb, you want, and again, it does depend on activity levels, etc., a gram per pound of body weight. Around that is going to be where you want to be. If you're really inactive, maybe a little bit less. If you're super active, maybe a little bit more, but roughly around that. So work out your weight in pounds. And again, if you're really high weight at the minute, then you might not need exactly that much protein, but as a rough guide. And I focus on just trying to hit that, try and track it, try and work out what that looks like throughout the day on or each meal. A thing I like to do is work out my protein target for the day and work out how many times a day I eat. As a general rule, I have three meals and one or two snacks. So I know I roughly eat 5 times a day. So for example, if my protein target was 100 grams a day, I know I need to get 20 grams every time I eat. That's a really helpful way of doing it. Obviously, my meals tend to have a bit more protein. Some snacks will have less protein, but as a rough guide, it's going to keep you fuller for longer. It's going to keep you satiated, protecting muscle, and it's just going to really help the entire fat loss process. So focus on that first. And then I would look at calories. So obviously calories are king and arguably they're probably more important than protein to get you to lose the weight. But I do like to look at protein first because I do think that mindset of looking at what we're adding in rather than restriction is really powerful. So to work out your deficit, I will put a calculator below so you can go and work that out for you. And that will help you to know what you should be doing and roughly where you should be. Walking is the next thing. So obviously there are certain situations where you cannot get more steps in, but for most of us, walking is a huge, powerful tool. Again, I do have some clients where walking more is physically not possible for whatever reason, but for most clients, walking is going to be huge. If you can get 8 to 10K steps consistently as an average each day, that would be incredible. If you can have time or energy to get more, amazing. I do love a walking pad. I think they can be a game changer for a lot of busy women. Multitasking in the evening whilst being on your walking pad, doing work, doing calls, whatever it might be on your walking pad can be such a cheat code to getting more steps in. But little things like parking further away from when you go to the food shop or taking the stairs at work or doing calls or voice notes or messages to friends whilst for a walk. A lot of my social things, me going for a walk with my friend, and that's just a mutually beneficial way of getting our steps in as well. Totally underrated for fat loss. And honestly, I've had clients lose 50 pounds from, obviously making some nutritional changes, but predominantly from walking. It honestly can be such a game changer. Next thing I do is strength training. So 3 to 4 sessions would be incredible. That would be like optimal, what I would love everyone to do. Not realistic for everyone. So for you, 1 or 2 strength training sessions a week is realistic. Do that. Fine. If 3 or 4 very short ones are realistic, do that. I'm not saying everyone needs to go to the gym 4 times a week to get successful, but if I had 20 pounds to lose, I probably would go and do 3 or 4 strength training sessions. It's obviously going to help shape my body as I lose that weight as well, because for most of us, like if I said to you, you have 2 options. Either you lose 20 pounds on the scale and you get to your goal weight, or option 2 is you look how you want to look. I don't know anyone that would say 20 pounds on the scale, because who actually, when you look at it that way, really cares about the weight. I don't care what weight I am as long as I look and feel how I want to look and feel. I know some people do get tied up to a number, but that's an important distinction, is you are probably going to actually want to look how you think 20 pounds off is going to make you look. And to do that, strength training is invaluable. Next one is sleep. Again, I work with a lot of mums, a lot of mums who pass them that don't have complete control over their sleep, so I'm fully aware of that. But I would maybe look at adding in magnesium glycinate at night, trying to have a slightly colder room, not being on my screen before bed, or putting on my blue lights like glasses or whatever, just to try and improve my sleep quality at all, because it does make a huge difference. And sleep is a bit of a fat loss hack. If you can improve your sleep, You're going to be less hungry through the day, less tired. You're going to have more energy to move more. And that just helps so much. And the next one is planning. Now, I am definitely not a type A, so I struggle with planning. But one thing I would plan is know tomorrow's meals. And that can be enough. I do have some clients that are very type A and they have entire week spreadsheets or meals planned out or even months, which is incredible. And I wish I was like that, but I'm not. So for me, I just make sure I know what I'm going to have tomorrow. Now, I tend to have the same breakfast or a slight variation of the same breakfast almost every day, which to me is one less thing to think about. It's a bit less decision fatigue. It's just easy. I love it. I'm not bored of it yet. When I am, I'll change it. It's my lunch and dinners that change. So I tend to always buy the same thing for a few days and buy this different things for a few days. That's how I work. But it is about working out what works for you. Some of my clients, they might have 3 or 4 different protein sources and 3 and 4 different types of carbs and a few different types of veg. They just mix and match. Some of my clients want more fancy, exciting recipes, and that's also fair. But I think at least knowing tomorrow's meals, whether you make tomorrow's meals ahead of time, like if you're going to be working out the house all day, or like me, you just roughly know what you're going to have for tomorrow's meals, makes a huge difference. And if you are logging your food, then I would say logging the next day is huge because there is something so easy and way less effort about going the next day and just tweaking the food that you did or didn't eat, or if you had slightly more of something or slightly less of something, than there is about looking at the end of the day and thinking, oh, I haven't tracked anything. I'm going to track the entire day. And that's when people fall off with tracking. And with weekends, one of the few things, if you're very social, if you're very have a lot of meals out, social events, I'm going to be honest, I don't really. I might have one a weekend, but I'm not overly social. I don't really have many social occasions with alcohol or big events a lot of the time. I'm a bit of an introvert. So therefore, my weekends are a bit easier than a lot of people's. So for me, I might give myself an extra 100 or 200 calories at weekends to play with based on my calorie deficit. So I might take away some calories from earlier in the week and have a bit more at weekends, but it's never going to be dramatic for me because I don't have a super social life. If you do, then planning that in and either being stricter Monday to Friday and knowing you've got some flexibility, or, for example, going through each weekend and looking at the plan and working out where you can be stricter and where you want to enjoy it. Because it's not about saying no every time. It's not about saying, no, I can't drink, no, I can't have this, being really restrictive about it. It is being mindful and intentional with your decisions. So that might be, for example, me. If I'm drinking, my rule is I have to try and eat something nourishing. One, because it does help a hangover. There is nothing worse than greasy food and loads of alcohol, your stomach, digestion, you just don't feel good for it. Whereas I know if I'm drinking, I will feel better for having a big salad or a steak with some veg or whatever. But equally, sometimes I might want the pizza. Okay, in which case I'll try and go for a diet drink, or I'll try and go for some water, or I'll try and get some extra movement in that day, whatever it might be. Or make sure I've got my protein and my fiber in earlier in the day. So it's not about saying no to weekends, and it's definitely not about cheating at weekends. It's not about being overly strict either, but it's about finding that balance. The things I would ignore if I want to lose 20 pounds is detox teas, waist trainers, fasting, because I overate. That is a very dangerous cycle to get into, although I'm not against fasting for everyone in every situation, but I am in that situation. Cutting all carbs, endless cardio, all of those things. If you focus on what I've just told you, you will lose 20 pounds. Now, it might not happen immediately. Obviously, your body might take a bit of time. So I would look at a few different things. I would measure probably daily my weight and take an average for the week. Again, does not work for everyone, but I have a good relationship with the scale, so that would work for me. And I can just look at it weekly because my scale does tend to fluctuate quite a lot. So an average for the week for me is a more accurate way of doing it. I'd also look at measurements and progress photos because, again, I think visibly, the scales aren't moving, but you can see changes, measurements changing, fat loss is happening, even if the scales aren't responding. And as I said earlier, that is what we're actually after, not necessarily just the number on the scale. I'd also look at energy, strength, digestion, mood, scales, all of those things, and do a little weekly check-in with myself or a coach like myself and have a plan of, okay, I'd like to lose 20 pounds in the next 10 weeks. That's 2 pounds a week. This is the plan. And just have a few goals, have a few deadlines with myself to have something to work towards, not to add unnecessary pressure, not to make it unrealistic as well, but just have a bit of an end date in mind. And what I would also do as a bonus is make sure that I knew the after plan. Once you've lost that 20 pounds, how are you going to keep it off? This is where people don't think ahead. And I get a lot of clients that get to their goal weight and they're like, Liv, I've achieved the 30 pounds, 40 pounds that we've done. I'm good to go. And I go, okay, see, I'm not going to hold you ransom to coaching forever, whilst it's lovely to have you. But what you haven't considered here is a reverse diet or the maintenance phase, which arguably for a lot of people is harder. A lot of people are quite motivated. They feel good. They have a reason to lose weight. And once you hit maintenance, that's often when people struggle. That can be the harder part. That can be the bit where people really mess up and undo all their hard work. So My argument to you is also make sure you have a plan for a reverse diet, which I will do a video on at some point as well. If you're not sure what that is, comment below and I'll try and describe it to you or reach out with some help. But definitely a reverse diet, a proper maintenance phase, and learning how to maintain that 20-pound loss arguably is as important, if not more important. So I hope you found today's video useful and hopefully you don't wake up 20 pounds overnight heavier. But if you do, then at least you know what to do and what the plan of action is. Give this a save, give me a follow, of course. And like I said, the calorie deficit calculator will be in my bio.